the chart suggests? Is this a time that's volatile for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
At the end of 2020, there was an alignment between Jupiter and Saturn, and they had a conjunction where they come together at the same degree of the zodiac, which was 0 degrees Aquarius. Their conjunctions happen every 20 years, and for the last 200 years up until that point, they were in Earth signs. In December of 2020, they had a conjunction in an air sign, which sets the tone for the next 250 years, and their alignments now are going to only be in air signs. So we're fundamentally, a society is moving out of earth and into air as an element. So as we move out of earth and into air, we become more connected through social media, the internet, all of those things. So we're much more volatile in air. So then after 2020, what happened was Pluto has moved into the sign of Aquarius, and Pluto's been sitting along that point where Jupiter and Saturn were back in 2020. So there's a lot of stuff that has been buried and suppressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been activated and triggered and been brought to the surface.
Okay.
And when that stuff comes to the surface, it has a natural effect of creating polarity, extremes on each end.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. And it's being stoked because the powers that be know how to stoke the fire
Of course.
of that polarity or division. And that's creating separation.
And it distracts.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also happening a lot all over the place. You think about the political landscape, then the polarity that's happening there. The vast majority of people aren't in polarity. The minority of people are.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is those minorities. You think all the people you know in your life personally, how many of them are on those poles?
Yeah.
I don't really know anyone personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not to say that they don't exist, but they are an extreme minority. And that's the thing with extremes, okay?
And because they get the loudest mouthpiece, they get the media.
Yep.
The elite get to stoke the fire by showing them. Yeah.
Well, what we're in the collective in the middle, we're convinced that that's the state of the reality, and it actually isn't at all. It's a division of polarity right at the extremes. So what will happen over the next little while is those extremes will have to unify, and the only way they do unify is through conflict. It gets to conflict. It has to get to conflict. So for the vast majority of people, because they're not at that polarity, it's fine. Just detach, observe, go the middle pillar, straight line center, stay there. In any of the divisions that they're going on, whether it's racial, whether it's political, whether it's religious, stay out of those extremes. Allow them to play out. We need those extremes to come to realize that we don't want to be on those ends.
Yeah.
We don't. It's not. As a people, we want to avoid that. And I think most people would agree with that. And I think most people at the core are not that way.
No.
But more conditioned and less self-aware type people are vulnerable to being triggered and activated into those polarities. So that's what we're sort of seeing playing out. At the end of this year, there's going to be a real peak point from December, January, and February, because when Pluto is in Aquarius, Mars is going to come into opposition to it. And then Mars will go through its retrograde phase. And Mars and Pluto don't play nicely. And you've got Leo, which is Mars will be in Leo. Cancer, this is people in positions of power against, people in general and the people in extremes. So you're going to see this sort of conflict come to a real flashpoint December, January, and February. It starts to build right through the US election. So,
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Now, does that point to a potential winner or loser in your opinion? I'm sorry to just keep asking you what your predictions are, what things are pointing to, but instead of it being a prediction, you're more just stating what's happening, I guess. So
there'll be a transition of power that won't be accepted, that'll lead to extreme conflict, that it most likely will create an intervention from, potentially military intervention to say, you've lost control of the government or the people, and we're now going to take in control of that.
I can see that happening either way. Whoever wins.
Well, exactly. There is another little part here to say, perhaps prior to the election even, it gets to that point and there isn't an election. There's just, for some other reason, it's blocked completely. So the people aren't actually given an opportunity. It just, for whatever reason, would it be something within the US creating conflict? Would it be something around the world where there's a spark of conflict as a reason to sort of go, that's not happening? So.
It's interesting because even Trump says you'll never have to vote again.
I heard that.
That was an interesting thing for him to say. And I don't think that's him suggesting, once I'm in, I'm staying.
No.
I feel like he understands what you're talking about. I feel like there's something.
Trump's a magician.
Yeah.
A master magician. So is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They know the game. They've mastered the game.
Oh, yeah.
And if you mastered the game, you can't master the game without knowledge of what's going on. You know, so they know at another level than what we could even comprehend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is that's an interesting time. I don't think, if that's the case, I feel like it is an America thing, fall of an empire, or the changing of power and the changing of systems. Really, it feels like is coming. It feels like the lifting of the veil is here.
Yeah.
And I don't think that affects us too much in regards to like rioting and stuff in the streets in Australia here, but we will see it. And again, it will be like, what is the state of the world?
Yeah, and it may impact us in the sense of like
financially
and travel and those types of things.
Yeah.
You know, we're definitely going into a window from the end of this year for about a 3-year period where, you know, it's like hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hope for the best, plan for the worst, and be very, very flexible with your plans. Don't be rigid.